What do you think is the next big thing in luxury residences?
I think it will become ever more bespoke. I really do.
How have you seen the evolution of high-end luxury segment in terms of residences?
The clients are much more particular than they used to.
One of the most beautiful, well laid out, energetic lobbies is the Waldorf Astoria in terms of its timeless design. Have you also transcended that across different developments, Builtmore included?
You have to grab the eye. It's particularly important at Waldorf because you have to cross an office lobby to get into the beginning of the Waldorf.
How the design philosophy again transcend into the actual product.
A lot of operators, a lot of hotel operators always say sense of place, and it's a very overused phrase.
Hello everyone and welcome to my show. My name is Hisham Al-Asad. I am founder of Usus Properties. Grateful to have you tune in. This show is not about sales. It's not about developments. It's more about the insights we can gain from people that are behind the scenes and frontline contributors to the real estate industry and its design, where they discuss their challenges, the opportunities that exist. We hope at the end of this, you'll walk away with something new to have learned from. This is the first episode of multiple episodes where we'll be introducing distinguished guests. The name of the show is Meylis Podcast, and I challenge you by providing your comments to tell me what the meaning and origin of the word Meylis comes from. Today, I'd like to introduce Joshua Judd, a renowned interior designer, principal at J2 Design Group. Thank you, Joshua, for participating and visiting us today.
Very nice to be here.
Likewise, if you can just please introduce yourself.
I'm the principal of J2. We have offices around the world in Barbados, Singapore, Milan, and the UK. I'm now based in Dubai because there's such a growing market here. It's really thriving, which is fantastic. And we've been in business since 2005. So we specialize really in hospitality and high-end residential. So that's five-star hotels, some of which you've mentioned, and obviously high-end residences, particularly here. We have two, in fact, just around the corner that are being built at the moment, which is Safa 1 and Safa 2. And we also have Signature Tower, which is being built. And we also do some private residential work as well, which is also very exciting.
That's great. So how'd you get into design of hospitality and residences?
I started many years ago. One of the things I always say to people is one of the best ways to start to design is to live and work in different regions. So I've lived and worked in India, Singapore, Jakarta, Turkey, United States, and all of those give you a grounding in different cultures, which helps in the design process. But that's how I really started building a big hotel in Marrakesh when I lived in Marrakesh. And
that was the Four Seasons?
That was, it was going to be a Taj. It's now been taken over by another developer, but it was a real trial by fire because it was a massive hotel, 2 royal suites, 9 restaurants, Robert Trent Jones golf course. And that really got me into designing and the love of designing hotels.
Beautiful.
And residence.
Was there like a specific mentor that kind of influenced your design philosophy?
Yes, there was very much. When I first, the hotel I'm talking about in Marrakesh was, I was working for a company that was then known as Graham Solano, and John Graham was the president. And I just got to know him purely by accident at a party. And he said, you want to come and see what you can do, help design, not design so much as design manage this huge hotel. And that got me excited about design. And I would have been 20, 21, maybe, just after university. I went straight from university at the Bartlett School at University College in London, straight into Marrakesh. Didn't speak any French, didn't speak any Arabic, and you had to learn on the go, it's a great way to do it.
And what was your approach during that time, taking on a new development, given you graduated, moved to an area you're not very much familiar with? How did, the design philosophy again transcend into the actual product?
I think a lot of hotel operators always say sense of place, and it's a very, very overused phrase, but it is actually very important. So that gives you, in terms of looking at the Zalige work and the artisan work in Marrakesh, and how you're going to buttonhole a particular, whether it's a residence or whether it's a hotel. How do you bring in the culture of the area? Otherwise, if it's totally international, then
Hmm.
it becomes faceless. You know, you need something. It needs those elements really to tie it in, and that's how that was very important for America.
Yeah, interesting. And I think, over the years, given you've moved from projects, be it in India, as you said, North Africa, Asia, coming to base yourself in Dubai, Builtmore, the interior,
Mm.
design has been influenced by your experience. So what are your thoughts about that development in particular?
Builtmore in particular, I mean, there's the thing about there's an understanding or an assumption um, in Dubai that it's very, very bling and tons and tons of additional finishes and that sort of thing, which actually isn't the case. There's more and more, because it's such a global city. The influences are much more elegant and sophisticated than perhaps they once were in terms of what people expect. And that's what we've brought to Builtmore. So, judging all of the experiences I've had, for example, in working in Singapore, which is a much more understated kind of design style, and then bringing some of those things, some of those ideas and stylistic elements into Builtmore, which is really about, I mean, Builtmore is about understated elegance. If you were to buttonhole what it is,
Mhm.
what we've done is that's it, really.
And in terms of challenges that you faced, given the project is located in a Sufuh, the developer has been primarily GJ Properties, focused on projects in Ajman. It's their first forte
Yes.
into Dubai itself.
Yeah.
The kind of projects they've worked on previously differ greatly to the understated luxury that you're highlighting.
Yes.
So, in terms of your ability to communicate with them and bridge that gap, were there any challenges? How was it addressed?
I think the difference is, as you say, about that it's much more, it's very high end finishes. So every client has a budget. And so what is important, which is what we've done at Buildmore, is you have to spend the money wisely. You can't just use high-end finishes or various things like that just because it's going to be called luxury, which is a very overused word, by the way.
Mhm.
But I think that getting the client to understand where to spend the money is important, and that then you get maximum impact for the most competitive cost.
Mhm.
And that's something that was something that we discussed with GJ Real Estate a lot about
Yeah.
where we spend the money, like the penthouses, for example.
Yeah. So, so in terms of before we kind of touch upon the penthouses,
Mm.
that structure was kind of already built, and they took on the acquisition around 2022 using the old facade design. How did that impact your interior elements?
The main thing about Biltmore is its twin towers, which are obviously circular in plan. So that makes the planning more challenging than obviously a rectilinear. So that was one of the challenges. The other thing is, because it was an existing building, all of the rises in the building we couldn't move. So we had to work with the existing rises and work out how the apartments would be laid out by hiding the rises, which was a challenge. I mean, it was very successful in the end, but it's something that you wouldn't have that if it was a new build.
Yeah, and I think one of the instrumental elements at the Biltmore is the first floor residences have been eliminated to accommodate additional amenities,
Mm.
which you took a part in, I believe, to add a residence lounge.
It,
Uh,
and health club. There's a
uh,
health club
yeah,
there with a plunge pool and all those sauna, steam, and all those sort of things,
yeah,
which also is a huge help for the residents. That's something that is expected now that
yeah.
you would want to have.
So how do you balance luxury, functionality, and sustainability in your projects?
Well, if everything is down to the brief, so the brief drives, obviously, the client brief drives what we do. If it doesn't work, it doesn't matter what finish you put on it; it has to work. And so, like the plans, I sort of explained how the plans challenging because it's in the round. But so it has to work functionally. And the other thing is it's such an exploding market that you have to provide something that is different, because you have Damak at one end and you have Nakheel and all these developers that are doing tons and tons and tons of different projects, and it has to stand alone. It has to be different from that, and that's something that I think we've done very successfully.
And one of the most beautiful, well laid out, um, energetic lobbies is the Waldorf Astoria. In terms of its timeless design.
Yes.
Have you also transcended that across different developments, Builtmore included?
Yes, I think it's you have to grab the eye first. It's particularly important at Waldorf because you have to cross an office lobby to get into the beginning of the Waldorf.
Yeah.
So the view as you arrive has to grab you. And by the same thing for the Builtmore, there are two entrance lobbies, and both of them have to grab the attention, and it has to give you a foretaste of what the apartments are like. If you go into a lobby and it has a particular kind of style, you go up to your apartment and it's totally different. That doesn't work. It has to be holistic.
So Joshua, what do you think of al-istidama?
I don't know what that is.
I thought you're learning Arabic.
Oh,
sustainability in terms of design.
Okay, so it's an area where interior design lags behind other disciplines, and that's partly because interior designers don't think about it enough, in my view, and it's also partly because the clients often don't want to pay for it. So if you were to say, we've been doing projects where the client has said, we're doing a big PIF project at the moment in Riyadh. And the client has stipulated that 80% of the finishes have to come from a region of 800 kilometers from the radius from the site.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if that's in certain countries, that's not an issue. It's much more difficult in Riyadh because around Riyadh, there's, getting timber and things like that is much more difficult, if not impossible. So those sort of things are a challenge, but it's also using finishes that are sustainable when everybody's still using marine ply and exterior grade MDF and all that sort of things, which people should be using different things. And sometimes you can propose, but it always ends up with the QS saying, we can't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that I think does need to change in the industry. We need help from the client side to help us. If we propose something that is more sustainable, it would be good if they take that on board more, I think.
Okay, so a lot of developers are not after sustainability, right?
Yeah,
it's a concept.
It's a concept.
Yeah.
They pay lip service to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to dish developers because developers are our clients, but there is certainly. It's a bit like having. It always reminds me of offices that have a sign on the wall in the office that says "We are all a team."
Yeah.
Generally means they're not.
Okay.
Because if you have to put the sign up, then you're not, right? And the same thing about paying lip service to green and sustainability and ecological things. If they keep going on about it, often they aren't really serious about it. But it is something that it would be good to change.
So, Joshua, given you've been here since 2005, how have you seen the evolution of high-end luxury segment in terms of residences, not in specific Dubai? You're working across the region in different areas, be it Abu Dhabi, be it the different districts in Saudi.
People are much more particular about what they want. And developers allow for that by making the different planning options if you're buying off plan, there are different plan options that you can select, things like that, different options on finishes. But the clients are much, much more particular than they used to be, and as the whole market has developed, I think that's a big change, and it will keep happening. The idea of a bespoke service is ever more important, so that each project has its own identity.
But in terms of like bespoke services, do you see that coming across from developers, or is it just personal clients?
I think it's also from developers as well. Definitely.
That's
they're trying to accommodate, because the market is so competitive, they're trying to accommodate the potential clients to as much as possible, whether it's layouts, finishes, and options, all these sort of additional facilities.
Yeah. What do you think is the next big thing in luxury residences?
I think it will become ever more bespoke. I really do,
Mhm.
and uh, that is going to be the next driver. Also, there is, if you go drive down Sheikh Zayed Road, you'll see an awful lot of projects that are coming up on big billboards, and they all look very, very similar,
Yeah.
right?
There's a
So
lot of curvatures in terms of
l-
like the architectural
and
facade
a lot
coming
of
in.
kidney shaped sofas and all this sort of stuff on the interior side is beige and more beige, and there is definitely a need, I think, to change it, because you can just drive down Sheikh Zayed Road, you'll see what I
Yeah.
mean. They're all very,
Uniform.
very
It's just, yeah,
uniform, and
uniform.
suddenly the each identity is disappearing.
Yeah. Have you seen AI impact your profession? One, and two is, are people using it when it comes into development? This is the latest buzzword disruptor across different
Yeah. I
professions.
mean, AI is increasingly being used in interior design. We always start when you have a, we always have a workshop with the client, and I'm sketching in front of the client, and we come up with ideas. And they often want, some of the big developers want a narrative, that they want to pin the brief, the design on a particular concept. Okay. Now, in the old days, you would come up with a narrative yourself. Frequently, I've seen, when I was doing work for the Red Sea Global, and they're big on narratives, that designers are using AI, ChatGPT, and everything else to create the narrative, which I think is a mistake, because the narrative should be by the designer. You can have the explanation of the narrative can be assisted by ChatGPT, things like that. Also, selecting mood imagery and coming up with the style you want. You're using Mid Journey to actually create an image or something like that. If you put in what you want and it creates it, again, it's taking away from the creativity, I think, a bit from the designer. And I think AI should be an execution assistant,
Mhm.
not a design assistant. That's what I
So, in terms of like the narrative you keep referring to, and
think.
setting aside AI, your narrative in terms of like a signature design element, do you leave that impact across the different projects you've worked on, and how can we identify it?
Well, the thing is that some companies have a design style, right? So SCDA in Singapore, Sukian, who's a very good designer, he has a particular design style, very much, which is what people want. We don't have that because everything is based on the brief. So if you have, looking at the Cavalli Tower work or Safa One, it's very, very different to Waldorf,
Yeah,
the IFC,
yeah,
and different again to Biltmore.
yeah, very
So
different.
if there is a thread that J2 has its attention to detail, and our documentation packages. So if you have a fantastic design, and I think we do great designs and great renderings, but you cannot realize it, then it's all it is a pretty picture. So the attention to detail is vital.
Okay, Joshua, a lot of these residences at Biltmore Sufuh are 1 and 2 bedrooms. And then from the 39th to the 44th floor,
Mm.
there are these 4,600 square foot penthouses. How did you go about the design, the concept? What is it that you're introducing?
It takes the whole idea of the apartments from the rest of Biltmore, and then takes it up a level. So we're using a lot of high-end gloss lacquered finishes in the timber and Calicut Oro marble, for example. And one of the things that it's each penthouse is one whole floor of each tower. So the whole thing is in the round, which means you also have amazing views down towards the Burj Al Arab or down towards the city. So that's particularly exciting, and so you get fantastic views, and the whole thing is taken up a notch in terms of the specialist finishes. And the show flat is due to finish in the next couple of weeks, which is very exciting. And we also have we've just completed the Waldorf Astoria DIFC apartments, branded apartments for Waldorf. There is a 1 and 2 and 3 beds, and those are just completed only a couple of weeks ago. Which
So
is
were
very
these
exciting.
like refurbished? Because the Waldorf Astoria has been existing for a while, or was it just shell and core and the owner has decided to?
We it needed a refresh after some years.
Yeah.
So we've added more color and basically, although some of the millwork is the same, all the FF&E, all the furniture is new, and a lot. We've done some tweaks to the planning as well, just to make it take it up a notch. And they really have come out beautifully, and they're being photographed at the moment, actually.
Okay, that's interesting. That's and those can be visited by when for us to look at.
Anytime now,
Okay.
they're ready to be viewed now. So there's, as I say, 1, 2, and 3 bed. There's
Okay.
28 apartments altogether.
Fantastic.
So, and the 3 beds are fantastic because the views across Sheikh Zayed and down and to the water are amazing.
Fantastic.
It's come out really, really, really well.
Joshua, what's your favorite building on Sheikh Zayed Road?
The one that is really grabbing my attention at the moment is the new Mandarin Oriental. It's the bronze. It has a twist in the building. From an architectural standpoint, I think that's very interesting. It really is iconic. There's nothing like that anywhere down Sheikh Zayed.
I think they're having a soft opening at the
I
moment.
think, and yes, if not already, then very soon. Yeah. So that's one that we were talking earlier about. You know, there's a lot of interior residential developer residential that is all starting to look the same. Now, I haven't seen inside the building because it's not open yet, but in terms of the iconic nature of the building, of the architecture, that is definitely, I think, very interesting.
Joshua, do you think you designed the building of your dreams?
It's always, it's like an actor, you know, your most recent work is always the one that you're most proud of until the next one.
Mm-hmm.
So the Waldorf for me, for the apartments, have come out beautifully, and the Builtmore also. I can't wait till the penthouses are finished. But again, then the next challenge is you want to do something, you want to better it. If you, as a designer, you should never be. My father used to say you should never have a comfy chair. You should never have comfy chair syndrome, which means you're comfortable in the work that you're doing. You should always be pushing the boundaries.
Joshua, I'm humbled, to have had you today with us. I look forward to working with you and just, catching up casually as we always do.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for watching the whole episode of Meylis Podcast. A lot more guests that are contributors to the real estate field will be hosted over the next couple of weeks. We'd like for you to please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.